Disrupting Japan, Episode 79. Disrupting Japan is sponsored by Justa. Now, I've known the team at Justa for years, and I've been recommending them long before they became a sponsor. Justa is really the only recruiting site that gets bilingual startups. Whether you're looking for American engineers or Japanese sales staff or the other way around, Justa can help you out. Unlike recruiting companies, they are priced to be very startup-friendly, and unlike job boards, they're an active part of the startup community here, and they're trusted by some of the best talent Japan has to offer. So drop by Justa.io and see what they're about. Welcome to Disrupting Japan, straight talk from Japan's most successful entrepreneurs. I'm Tim Romero, and thanks for joining me. One of the most important problems with the Internet of Things is not the Internet, or even the things. The problem lies in connecting those things to the Internet. In fact, much of the promise of the Internet of Things is based on the idea of thousands of connected devices working together. It turns out that building the hardware and writing the software has proven to be much simpler than developing an affordable, scalable, and secure network that enables these devices to communicate with home base and with each other. Some applications use Wi-Fi, and that's a great solution for stationary devices that operate in homes or offices, or anywhere else where you can be certain to have a connection. But many devices are mobile, or need to operate where there might not be a Wi-Fi connection. Some applications pair with cell phones, and that works well for personal devices and wearables, and things we'll carry around with us. But for things like sensors and inexpensive autonomous devices, well, having a cell phone plan for each of them is simply cost prohibitive. So right now, connectivity is the real problem for a lot of Internet of Things applications. Well, Soracom has a solution, and a damn good one in my opinion. Today we sit down with Ken Tamagawa, CEO of Soracom, to talk about their solution, which involves slicing up mobile bandwidth and using Amazon Web Services as their backbone. And this enables a pay-as-you-go remote communication package for pennies a day. We also discuss Soracom's global ambitions. Soracom is one of the few Japanese startups to raise a round of more than $20 million, and a lot of that is targeted on their global expansion. Soracom has something that is truly unique, and you'll be hearing more about Soracom in the years to come. But Ken tells that story much better than I can. So let's hear from our sponsor and get straight to the interview. Some of Japan's largest companies are starting open innovation programs and actively reaching out to global startups. They're new at this, and that's where Crew, with two W's, comes in. Crew runs corporate startup accelerators for companies like Toyota and Panasonic and dozens more. And these programs are one of the best ways to jumpstart your business in Japan. Many are open to global startups, and they're completely free. Now, I've known and worked with the Crew team, and they're probably doing more than anyone to bridge the gap between corporate Japan and global startups. So drop by Crew with two W's, .me/4-startups and get started. I'm sitting here with Ken Tamagawa of Soracom. And Soracom is a communications platform for Internet of Things devices, but you can explain it much better than I can. So what is Soracom?
Okay, so Soracom offers the IoT connectivity platform. So basically, many IoT solutions and or devices need a connectivity, sending data to the cloud. I noticed when I was working for Amazon Web Services before I founded Soracom, and many customers wanted to send data to the AWS cloud. But there is no ideal connectivity yet. So we built connectivity platform on top of the AWS, and that is Soracom.
Okay. You're operating what's called a mobile virtual network, right? So it's not, for example, many developers will use they'll use a mobile phone as a connectivity device. But what you guys are doing is something very different. So on a technical level, what's happening?
So that many people are wondering how we are providing, that kind of a cloud-based connectivity at the MVNO, mobile virtual network operator. So let me talk about the overview of this industry first. Telecom operators such as the NTT Docomo and other, big giant players, they usually have many base stations or cell towers. It's gonna be I think maybe 100,000 cell towers in Japan. They need to invest a lot of money to the cell towers, right? Sure. And also they need to have a big data center to host telecom core network system. It's usually very expensive.
Oh, sure. It's a massive capital investment. Right, That's why almost any country are only going to have 2 or 3 cell operators.
Right. Obviously, we cannot do that as a startups, but we found a way to provide cellular connectivity as MVNO. There is a way called layer 2 connection to the telecom operator. So we contracted with the NTT Docomo, and then we got a layer 2 connection. So in that setup, basically we are borrowing cell towers, but we are hosting, our telecom core network system by connecting those cell towers with the physical network line to the AWS cloud.
When you're operating a virtual network, are you paying a fixed fee monthly or yearly to operate this network on top of Docomo, or are you paying on like a SaaS basis on a per packet or something like that?
Yeah. This is kind of like a secret though.
Oh, okay.
But actually, that is like already opened in the website. Let me talk about that secret. We are paying the bandwidth fee to the NTT Docomo based on the bandwidth per month. In that way, we borrow the cell tower part from the NTT Docomo.
Okay, so that's perfectly aligned with your business model. So your costs only go up as your users and their use go up.
Right. So there are several MVNOs using that layer 2 connection. Uniqueness of us is usual MVNO player. So they use like a layer 2 connection, and then they borrow the data center, and they buy the hardware appliance of a telecom core network. They need to invest, I think, 20 million USD for that part, hardware appliance and data center. But in our way, we use AWS cloud, and then we built telecom core network in the software on the AWS cloud. That's our core competency.
And so that way, obviously, since your costs are based on usage, you can price the Soracom product that way to your users.
Right.
So what does it cost for an Internet of Things developer to get started on Soracom?
So we try to be very open and programmable and pay-as-you-go model like AWS. So we sell SIM card in Amazon.com and also our direct web channel. Once our customer get a SIM card, we charge 10 yen per day. So basic usage fee is very cheap. So even they continue to use for a month, it's gonna cost 300 yen. It's about $3. And also we charge a data amount. So it's a kind of a pay-as-you-go model. Every month we calculate, how much data they send.
There's so much great stuff happening in IoT these days. And it can be hard to really understand how a platform is used. So let's dive into a couple of use cases that I know are taking advantage of what Soracom has to offer now. So you're working with Japan Taxi on an ad delivery system.
Yeah. So before talking about the Japan Taxi, if you look at our customer base, within 1 year after our launch, we already have like 5,000 customers, which include like enterprise to small and medium business and also startups across the industries too. So Japan Taxi is very interesting customer. They put tablets in the back seat of the taxi, and they distributed advertisement movie for the customers. So it was interesting, every customer average taxi ride 18 minutes I heard from the Japan taxi and in the taxi. So it's like a good space they provide advertisement movies, right? So usually those advertisement movies are updated weekly or 2 weeks. So they need to have a way to distribute latest advertisement movie. Then they use Soracom. And especially they use like a nighttime to distribute advertisement movie. We have like a cheaper price.
So the rates are different at different times of day?
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they take advantage of that timing.
Okay, so instead of having a data plan and a connectivity plan for each individual Android tablet, they just connect to Soracom at less than a tenth the price and update the ads from a central location.
Right.
Excellent. And let's see, what else? Safecast is a very interesting project because they didn't start out with Soracom, but they converted over last year, right?
Yeah. They are providing a radioactive sensor device. And basically they sell that devices to the volunteer, and then volunteer place that to their house or any location, and automatically those devices sensing the radiation, and then upload that to the cloud.
And for our overseas listeners, after the earthquake and tsunami in 2011 and the problems at the Fukushima nuclear power plant, a lot of people in Japan didn't trust the government numbers when they announced the radiation. So Safecast was this grassroots, bottom-up citizen monitoring program.
Exactly.
Where they made these radiation monitors, distributed them all over Japan. And how did they link up these monitors before using Soracom?
So they used to use Wi-Fi, but sometimes they don't have Wi-Fi in the place. They want to put sensors, and also it's kind of like takes time to set up the Wi-Fi. But if they use cellular, so they can place anytime as long as cellular connectivity is available. That's the reason they like Soracom. And also Soracom provide a web console to check the status of connectivity. And also we provide like an API. Safecast can use those API to control those Safecast devices.
Right, so yeah, they'll know what's online, what's not online, and they could take one offline when they needed to.
Right.
Why would they want to take one offline?
Right now, they create global versions of Safecast, which include the not only cellular but also LoRa connectivity too. And their plan is to utilize better connectivity in the various situations. For example, if the LoRa connectivity is available, that device is using LoRa, but not, they use cellular. So in that time, they might want to deactivate cellular connectivity.
Right, to save the money, they don't need it, so don't use it. Are there any other applications being used now that you think are a really good use of Soracom?
Yeah. So my favorite use case is Tokachi Bus. They are a local bus company in the Hokkaido area. It's like a northern area of Japan. They have a lot of snows, right? So they put Soracom into all of the buses, and then sending the location data of bus to the cloud. And they provide a smartphone application to the customer, and so customer can use the route finder system by using like a bus location. So for example, the customer want to go to a place, and they can search which bus they should take, and also that information is reflected based on the real location. If the bus is delayed due to the snow, the customer can get that notice.
It tells people where the buses are and the best route based on reality rather than the schedule.
Exactly, yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, another example is Rakuten. So Rakuten has a credit payment system called Rakuten Eddy. And they use Soracom for the Rakuten baseball game. They are selling like beer, right?
Right.
So those people have a credit payment terminal with Soracom. So they can do the credit payment anywhere And also, usually baseball game is only in the weekend, so they can save money for the weekday.
Ah, okay. So they deactivate it when they're not using it.
Yeah, pay-as-you-go model. So
excellent. Well, let's talk a bit about you.
mm-hmm.
So we first met back when you were working at AWS.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now I was at Engine Yard.
Right.
Times change.
Times change. Yes.
Before AWS, you went to the University of Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
You got an advanced degree in the US. Mm-hmm. What made you want to start a company? Was this something you always wanted to do?
It's kind of like a long story, I think.
Yeah, we have time.
So let me talk about my career background. So I graduated from Tokyo University with a master's degree of the mechanical engineering and also the virtual reality. I started my career in IBM research. First research project I was working on was WatchPad, wearable computing project, which is the most cutting edge product in IBM research, which has a accelerometer, fingerprint sensor.
So it was like the Apple Watch before the Apple Watch.
Exactly, it was like a 2000, so 17 years ago, and which is like I think like too much advanced of its time.
They couldn't bring it to market at a price that could sell it.
Yeah. One day, my boss assembled us and to announce, this project is cancelled. So yeah, it was like surprising for me. And in retrospective, IBM management team decided to sell ThinkPad team to Lenovo, right? And that project was funded by ThinkPad team. So naturally, our project was cancelled because we lost the research fund. But that experiences taught me if I want to bring our product to the market, I need to know more about the management and sales and marketing. So I moved to the sales division and worked on the software. And then, I got a company scholarship from IBM. And then I went to the Carnegie Mellon to work on the MBA and also MSc, Master of Software Engineering. That was 2006. So it's the same year Amazon started AWS. So then my friend started using AWS. It was amazing, When I first touched AWS, that was, incredible. You just click a button and then you can get like a server instantly. I felt like, wow, this is changing.
Yeah.
Right. But I was sponsored by IBM, so I needed to go back to Japan. So I went back to Japan, and I think like I worked in the software group for 2 years, and then one day I got a call from a headhunter. He told me Amazon is gonna start AWS business. Why don't you start that business? Oh my God, I want to do that. Right? But there was a pitfall. I had like a contract with IBM. If I, leave within 5 years of my graduation, I need to pay back all of the tuition.
Sure, because they paid for all the college and everything.
Yeah, that amount was like $100,000.
Oh wow!
But I paid that money to IBM.
Really?
Joined AWS.
So you really believed in this AWS vision.
Yeah, because I really like that democratizing computing resources. So because I was lucky, I was in the IBM research. For me, it's easy to get like a super computing resources, but most of people don't have a way to use those latest technology. But kind of like AWS democratizing computing resources. So if you have like any good idea, you can launch server quickly and then start it, right? Yeah. It's allowed like a small start. So naturally, many innovative startups demonstrating their powers, mainly from the US, I think. So Dropbox, Instagram, Uber, Airbnb, many technology startups.
I think it really made it easy it decreased the cost of starting a company. You could try it and see for $100.
Right. Yeah, so I really like the nature of the AWS business, kind of empowering, developers and people. So I put all of my effort to AWS business. So I joined AWS as technical evangelist. I think I delivered like more than 160 presentations in 2011. So every day I, give a speech, and luckily I think right now AWS business in Japan expanded successfully. I guess the yearly revenue is beyond 1 billion USD in Japan. So that's amazing, right?
Yeah.
Within 6 years, But unfortunately, there is no single startup from Japan using AWS going global and very, technically innovative, product or services. No, right? So that's like I felt really bad because I was a technical evangelist, and that's kind of my job to create innovative startup. Then one day, I had a beer with current CTO in the Seattle because we had a business trip to Seattle. We kind of got very excited to talk about what kind of a mission critical system can run on the AWS. And one very interesting idea is running telecom core network, which is very mission critical.
Yeah.
And on the AWS cloud, we felt maybe we can make it, right? But most of people don't think. So that is like a very big opportunity. So then I went back to hotel. I had a jet lag. So I made like some fictitious press release, and which is saying, we build telecom core network in software on AWS cloud. And we provide like a very inexpensive, open, pay-as-you-go connectivity on the AWS cloud. But
so your imaginary press release.
Right. Then next morning I woke up, I read it, and it seems like it's not fiction. So that's the beginning of this Soracom.
Okay, but your background is in technical research. You had the expertise of teaching people about the correct architecture on the cloud. So I can understand from an engineering point of view, you seeing the opportunity. But so far your whole career has been working in very large companies. What made you decide to actually go out and start this company?
Well, I don't know the reason, but you are right. I'm a researcher in the enterprise company. I just pursue the passion in the technology, but nobody made Soracom, so I needed to do that, right? That's the thing.
What did your friends and your family think? Were they supportive? Were they surprised?
Yeah, this is very interesting. Like in Japan, after I founded Soracom, so I would say like more than 90% of people, like first question is, your wife is okay?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So that's called wife broke in Japan. But actually, my wife is kind of very supportive. If you want to do, just do it, right? So I'm kind of very appreciate.
Oh, that is good. That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Another thing that I think is really exciting about Soracom is the fact that you're going global so quickly. And so let's talk about global expansion for a minute.
Right.
You launched in the US in November of 2016.
Right.
How have things been going so far?
Yeah, so we chose AWS reInvent, which is the yearly developer conference of AWS. We chose that event intentionally because I'm from AWS, and that was very successful. Many developers really like us because we are providing a cellular cloud convergence.
So in the US, did you set up the same type of virtual network that you did here in Japan?
This one is like more advanced. We have a contract with the several telecom operators in the global. So the SIM card in the US, you can get connectivity in more than 120 countries. So we do have several contracts and several roaming settings. The SIM card can use AT&T cell tower and also T-Mobile cell tower.
Well, that's interesting. Do most of your customers that are building Internet of Things devices, are most of the use cases things that are operating in just one location, or do you have Internet of Things devices that are taking advantage of this global coverage?
Yeah, it depends on the customer. As you mentioned, most of the smart city type of the application, they don't move, right? So that's one place, they set up the devices and solutions, and it's, continue to be there. But another type of the solutions, such as the automobile, like a very big, car company, they usually make cars in several locations, but then that send that to the another location. And right now, what they are doing is, they contract with each telecom operator in one country, and then switching those SIM cards, right? But if they use like a Soracom global version of SIM card, they can get connectivity in any location. It's kind of decrease the heavy lifting work for them.
Right. You just set that, you can install that SIM card once, and you're fine. And like you said, you could manage it off on the net.
Right, and also they can get same cloud convergence features. Like we have several additional services which is address the security issue or data process issues. So for example, we have like a Soracom canal that is allowed customers to make private network very easily.
So globally, who's Soracom's biggest competition? Is it LoRa type networks? Are there other companies like Soracom out there?
Actually, if we look at exact competitor, I don't know any single company doing similar things we are doing as a Soracom, because we are only one company built all of the telecom core network on the AWS cloud, and also having additional layer of services like security and application level. But I would say the current competition is Wi-Fi and other type of networks, because they don't know the merit of the cellular technology. They think cellular is too expensive, but Soracom, we provide very flexible cellular with the minimum cost, right?
Sure, and it's like I said, it's about $3 a month if you leave it on all the time.
Right. Actually, global version we decreased the price. It is now like $1.8 per SIM card per month.
So $1.80 per month if it's on full time, less if you switch it off when you're not using it.
Yeah, we have like some condition for switching off though, but that's right. Yeah.
What sounds like things have gone incredibly well in the last 3 months since your launch.
Right.
What's been the most surprising thing that's happened in the global expansion, or what's the most important thing you learned from rolling out globally?
Well, before rolling out global, I'm confident in terms of technology. We built our core network in software, right? So we just need to copy those software to the another region of the AWS. There is some works, but not technically difficult. As long as we can set up the contract with the telecom operator.
Were there differences in the telecom operators on that part of the infrastructure going global?
Fortunately, those standard is very following on the 3GPP and other standard, industry standard. So that was good things. What I was afraid is can we make really strong global team? Even we are the small company from far east country like Japan, right? And I was concerned about that part, but we had like a really good opportunity to meet people in the global. They understood our value proposition very well, and then they joined us. I really excited to have such a great people in our global team. So right now we have more than 10 in the global.
So where are your offices outside of Tokyo?
In the US, Palo Alto, and Singapore, and Denmark, and also France, and kind of very diverse.
Okay. So are most of these offices sales or in support offices? Is some of your development being done outside of Japan?
Yeah, most of those global offices are sales and marketing. But yeah, some of our developers are located in global too.
Soracom is one of the few Japanese companies that has managed to raise a financing round of more than 20 million.
Right.
What made that happen? Was it the global focus and the global opportunity that brought the investors in?
Actually, in 2015 spring, we did a Series A fundraising. It was like 7 million USD. At that time, we had a good prototype. I think investors kind of like appreciate our team and also proprietary technologies and also the market size we are looking at. Those three things are very important for the Series A. And after we launched our services, we quickly got momentum in Japan. So within 3 months, we got more than 2,000 customer base, right?
Wow.
So then, we wanted to expand our business globally. At that time, we got a Series B fundraising, which is 2016 spring, and we raised like 30 million USD. So that is, we demonstrated our potential in global market.
So the investors that were investing that amount of money, was a lot of the money targeted for a global expansion?
I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah, because we demonstrated our potential is Japan market, and also our core competency is kind of like a software base. So they thought it's not easy, but it's possible to bring that solution to the global market.
And will this round take you to profitability, or do you think you'll have more fundraising rounds in the future?
It depends, right? It's kind of like now we are very lucky. We have a lot of options. We can choose. We want to accelerate very rapidly our global expansion. That is the case. Maybe we can do additional round. But if we want to make profitable, then we slow the pace. But I want to see how it goes in the global market, and then we can choose the better option.
That is a great situation to be in. Let's talk a bit about the future of the Internet of Things. Because this is one area I think that globally Japan is going to be very strong in Internet of Things devices. There's so much cool stuff going on here. So in your opinion, because so many of your customers are Internet of Things companies, what are the most interesting and promising developments you see in the Internet of Things in Japan?
In Japan, there are many companies who are good at hardware technology. So they are really good at making cool, small, tangible stuff. And also, recently, Japan, it used to be very people joined large enterprise and then they don't left for entire life.
Right,
but
yeah.
Recently changing, right? Many talented people are kind of leaving the big enterprise and then started their own company. I saw many great chances for those startups because they have a relationship with the enterprise company, and also they have like a really good experiences networking, and they are good at hardware technology. But maybe one challenge is most of those companies are not good at software technology. So kind of we need to bridge hardware-centric company and software or service-centric company. That's the reason we do our partner ecosystem program called Soracom Partner Space. So we try to bridge those companies and
A lot of people in Japan point to, for example, robotics, where Japan used to be far, far ahead of the rest of the world.
Right.
But over the last 5 or 6 years, leading edge robotics has moved from hardware to software, and Japan now is trying to catch up.
Right.
So I guess, yeah, you're right. There is that software gap.
So I think Soracom is kind of located in the middle, kind of a device side and cloud side, and between that we are in a good position to connect those people. Not only connecting devices and cloud, we wanted to connect those people in the different world.
Well, let's talk about that, because we've talked about a couple of real world applications of people using Soracom today.
Right.
But what is your vision? What is the ultimate best use of Soracom in the future? How do you see it connecting people?
So we want to decrease the price of connectivity and then empower the developers. If they see Soracom and wow, this is great, and I want to make that, which was not impossible before, but now which kind of possible. Right?
Do you have any idea of what kind of applications should be using Soracom that aren't using it yet?
I don't know. It's like we are the platform, right. And if we know that, I will do that.
Okay, that's fair enough. Soracom is betting the future on global growth. Mm-hmm. Many Japanese companies have a lot of pressure on them to go global early. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's a good strategy? What advice do you have for Japanese startup founders about going global?
I think it depends, right? So it depends on their product and solution. In our case, our core competency is software on the cloud. So it's easy to bring that solution to the global market. So, but that's a very different story when they do hardware product. So I don't know the one answer, but in our cases, like if we have that advantage, but we don't go global, we will be very difficult position because other company can do that, right?
Right.
I mean, they can expand globally. Then we stick to the Japanese market.
So I figure that you'll have to compete against these companies eventually. So it's better to compete now than wait for them to get stronger.
Right. Exactly.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. Is there anything that you want to talk about?
Well, so this is a bonus track.
Exactly.
Bonus track. So I think there are several technologies you guys should start using, right? You will learn very quickly new things, and which is beyond your imagination. Like I would say, like 20 years ago, if you want to try new things, like say like enterprise database, you cannot do that. Right? You need to purchase, and it's like very expensive.
Yeah, it costs you over $1 million to get that.
Right, but right now we have like plenty of really good technology services, which is provided SaaS base or the pay-as-you-go base. I think it's very important to try to use those cool stuffs, and then you will see serendipity merging your experiences and then those new technologies.
So the advice is to play.
Right. There is only thing you can bring into the world. So that's my bonus message.
Okay, I like that. Well, listen, before we wrap up, I want to ask you my magic wand question. And that is, if I gave you a magic wand and I said you could change one thing about Japan, anything at all, the education system, the way people think about risk, the laws, anything at all to make it better for startups here in Japan, what would you change?
Definitely education system.
Yeah?
Yeah, we have less software engineers compared with the US and China. So we should put more effort on the education side.
So what would you change about it? Because Japan education is very strong with like mathematics, and it seems to provide a good base for software engineering.
I think maybe the university education. So we should have a more, how can I say, like a professional school for the software engineering.
To teach more practical skills?
Exactly.
That's true. A lot of Japanese university, even computer science, it's very abstract.
Right. So I, worked on the Master of Software Engineering in the Carnegie Mellon, though. But most of activities are not based on the classroom, more like project based. We had a real project we need to deliver by the due date for the specific customer, which is Google and Bosch. That was like a kind of a really great experiences for me.
And Japanese universities aren't like that.
Not like that. Oh. It's like a 100% classroom type of the.
Well, I have to admit, this is something I've always found frustrating and a little disappointing. So, I mean, I've been in Japan 25 years.
Right.
My whole career has been in software development and software sales. And I've had countless discussions and arguments and design sessions with Japanese programmers.
Right.
I can discuss software development with Japanese engineers, but I cannot understand Japanese professors speaking about software development. They use different words.
Right.
It's a different vocabulary.
Right. So I think like a technical theory and discipline is important, and also I think in that sense like we are doing like a great job in the university education. But practical engineering, how to build a large scale of software, those things we are missing in the education.
So you'd make a lot more real-world practical experience at universities.
Right.
Excellent. Do you see that changing at all now?
Well, actually, I don't know. Yeah, I think there are some progress, of course, but I need to check, which is the right amount of change, compared with the other countries and the world.
Any change in that direction is good, I suppose.
Right.
Well, listen, Ken, thanks so much for sitting down with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Tim.
Startups are the lifeblood of an economy, and there are few who understand it better than Deloitte Tomatsu Venture Support. Deloitte TVS is the #1 startup supporter in Japan, and they spur innovation here by connecting startups with larger companies and government entities. They work free of charge with these startups to help them with acceleration, PR, fundraising, and also finding the right corporate partners here. So far, Deloitte TVS has supported more than 3,000 startups in Japan. And now they have a global open innovation platform connecting startups and enterprises worldwide. It's a great way to connect with some of Japan's biggest players. So be sure to check out what Deloitte TVS has to offer. And we're back. Soracom represents something important in the Japanese startup ecosystem. I mean, sure, they're getting a lot of attention because of the amount of money they've raised. But the funds are a result of what they are. Soracom is one of the very few Japanese startups that are truly a world leader in the technology they have and are aggressively expanding overseas. They have a very real shot of becoming a multi-billion-dollar global player. There are no guarantees, of course. There's a lot of execution that needs to happen between here and there, but they're in the game. Ken's thoughts on digitizing the world really resonated with me. It's not just a move from analog to the digital, think records to CDs, but from the physical to the virtual, think CDs and CD players into MP3s and computer software. Soracom is certainly not the only company providing inexpensive connectivity for IoT devices. But Soracom has virtualized their infrastructure. They don't need to invest in buying, developing, maintaining, and replacing hardware. And that gives Soracom an almost insurmountable edge over their global competition. We'll be hearing a lot more about Soracom in the years to come. If you've got some experience with IoT devices, Ken and I would love to hear from you. So come by disruptingjapan.com/show079 and let us know what you think. And when you drop by the site, you'll find all the links and notes that Ken and I talked about and much, much more in the resources section of this post. And as much as I love podcasting, which is a lot, between Disrupting Japan's guests and our audience, I get to talk with some of the most innovative and creative people in Japan. But sometimes it starts to feel more like a broadcast than a conversation. So please feel free to connect on Facebook or Twitter. The address is Disrupting Japan, one word, in both cases. And I'm also trying something a little unusual for a podcast, a Disrupting Japan LinkedIn group, and one that is aggressively moderated to keep out the spam and focus only on innovation in Japan. So whatever your social media of choice, let's connect and let's talk. I look forward to hearing from you. But most of all, thanks for listening. and thank you for letting people interested in Japanese startups know about the show. I'm Tim Romero, and thanks for listening to Disrupting Japan.